I'm Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., and this is how to get your money right. We welcome to How to Get Your Money Right, Todd McDonald, the chairman of the National Bankers Association and president of Liberty Bank, one of the largest black banks in America. Brother McDonald, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So Liberty Bank, I believe you're the largest African-American owned bank in America today.
Yes, that's correct.
How many states are you located in?
11 states, headquartered out of New Orleans, Louisiana.
And you're a New Orleans native.
Yes, sir, I am. I am.
And you come from a banking family.
Yes, that's correct. My father, along with Dr. Norman C. Francis, started Liberty in 1972 right here in New Orleans.
As chair of the National Bankers Association, give us a kind of overview of how black-owned banking, African-American-owned banking, from an industry perspective across the nation.
So we're all putting our heads together to develop large partnerships. And so with lending to small businesses and individuals for first-time home buying programs or debt consolidation programs, we all partner with large corporations, small corporations to deploy the capital so that small businesses, for instance, can execute on contracts that they've received. And so we're all looking at ourselves in a fashion of we need to hit these opportunities as a sector and not individually. And so we do a lot of work together. I actually have a call with many of the CEOs later on this afternoon. We have a call on a monthly basis. And, this was very important for the connectivity amongst ourselves and others, especially during COVID, because a lot of the world did not know what was taking place and how things were going to be deployed in order to get us through it. And so a lot of strong relationships have been made through the National Bankers Association, and not just amongst the black banks, it's majority-owned banks as well. And we're just learning from each other in a very big way. I used to go to some of the conferences with my dad when I was little, and a lot of times you kind of operated in isolated environments. You didn't really do a lot of collaboration back then. Now that's totally different. Collaboration is the key word now today.
What would you say today are the top 3 priorities of the National Bankers Association?
So growth, adoption of technology, and managing delinquencies. And so those 3 are very important. Growth is because you have to, if you're a bank and a financial institution, you have to grow to start to absorb some of these additional costs that are coming our way through cybersecurity, through technology. And those come with some pretty big price tags. And so the more money you make is really connected to how long you're going to be comfortably in business. The second thing, the adoption of technology ties right into that. A lot of our institutions in the MBA, we don't have hundreds of thousands of employees. And so sometimes we miss opportunities to adopt technology just because we don't have the capacity or bandwidth. And so what we're focusing on now are providing structure for group adoption. So we had a presentation at our previous conference where one company came in and you had 7 banks to raise their hand. And so now we're ironing out the contract. But with us all going about at the same time, we can compare notes, understand what's working in our institutions, what's not, and that will just help us adopt things faster. And then on the third thing is managing delinquency. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of us are starting to experience higher delinquency rates just due to the economy. And it's not a black or white or purple, green, or gold thing. It's the U.S. economy. And so a lot of banks, as you saw with the regional banks, are starting to reserve more because everyone is expecting to get hit with some write-downs and some write-offs. And so those 3 focus points are essential to the NBA at this time.
There's so much going on in the financial services community, and particularly in banking. What is your forecast? How do you see opportunities for people to engage the banking industry going forward over the next couple of years?
Well, I think with technology, a lot of businesses and individuals will have more access to products and services like never before. And so my advice and my forecast is to watch the markets. A lot of changes will take place likely with corporate America and their reaction to interest rate movement or the health of the economy. And so with small businesses, we see a lot of small businesses being connected to large corporations that are receiving contracts to execute on supply chain scopes of work. And so that's been very, very popular. I've never seen it at this scale before, which is encouraging because that means that the small businesses are finally being connected to corporate America in a way that is trickling down to individuals and eventually our kids. And so the opportunities are very wide. I think the global economy is going to also require the United States to show up in different ways like we've never seen before, which is a good thing. And so I would say, my forecast is just stay close to your phone because that's mostly individuals' computers nowadays, and just stay close to technology because things are going to change fast.
How do you see technology impacting the expansion and growth of the banking industry today?
Well, it's expanding it in a really good way because no longer do you not have access to money. And so when you look at traditional communities, especially in underserved communities, you had predatory lenders that kind of fulfilled banking needs in some of those communities. And so with those predatory lenders, they charge, 400% interest rates when you look at the fees and interest associated with those products. Now, an individual in a community that has no physical presence of a bank or financial institution can definitely use his or her cell phone to make those transactions. While you can't do that with cash, a lot of industries are moving away from cash, so it should only get better.
Tell us from your perspective how this innovation and technology is impacting the banking industry.
So we are, as a sector, we typically are not the early adopters of technology. So many of us are just starting to incorporate bot technology and AI technology. And, our regulators uh, always ask us, hey, do you have any new products, any new technology that you're going to deploy into, the platform? And so we're kind of a slow to adopt new things, but AI is definitely the future. We have bots, we have um, uh, data that's being collected within a closed environment. We don't do open environments because we certainly don't want our information out there. And so our CIO has given us a safe place to test new products and new software in. And so we do have a plan, and many of us have already pivoted to uh, figuring out what type of capital investment is needed to make those purchases of software and technology so that we're not left behind.
And I think it's important for us to be able to adapt to those changes and take advantage of the opportunities. Can you tell the audience how important engaging financial literacy is to be on a pathway to wealth building and getting your money right?
It's essential for wealth building. And so while a lot of our communities lacked physical locations of financial institutions, many of our communities now have access to technology to compare rates, compare fees, compare services and products that are essential for any family in the US. And with the comparison, let's just take rates, for instance. Our rate here at Liberty Bank on our credit card, our entry level rate it's half the rate of the national average of credit cards. So the average national rate is around 24, 25%. Our introductory rate is right at 12%. So when you have access to platforms like Liberty, you have access to nonprofits, you have access to larger corporations or fintechs, you could then make the decision, how can I save money for a product that I have to use? Most people have credit cards, most people have auto loans or mortgage loans. And so use those tools to your advantage so that you could save and preserve as much of your cash flow as possible.
But for those who are contemplating entering into a career in banking, what would you suggest as a first step?
To put yourself out there and go and introduce yourself to the leaders around a bank or a financial institution and ask them if there are opportunities for you to intern, for you to volunteer, for you to participate in a financial literacy program that they're doing in that community. And that way you get to understand exactly what banks do because one bank may be heavily focused on one industry or another bank may be more catering more to a nonprofit industry. And so you want to explore and understand and get a feeling of what really ties to you. What is your passion? What do you want to focus on? Banking is huge. It's very, very large industry, and they are very specific lanes and sectors that you could, do deep dives in. And so I would encourage you to just put yourself out there and explore.
Do you see an increase in entrepreneurship, or is it kind of flat?
I definitely see an increase. I think exposure to technology is allowing a lot of companies, smaller companies, to get bigger opportunities. And Liberty is right there to be supportive to those small businesses. So we have a relationship with an extremely large technology provider, and we provide funding to small businesses that support their supply chain. And so I think the access to information, access to where a small business can plug in and play within a large corporation is probably better than ever. And so the increase is there. And then also the transition. I see a lot of mature businesses selling to the younger generation. And so those transfer of assets are going to be a really big part in connecting the wealth gap just in U.S. in general.
And the extent to which a lot of businesses are African American or Native American or Asian American or Latino American owned is the extent to which one could measure the economic viability of these communities. From your perspective as chairman of the National Bankers Association, do you see this growth in entrepreneurs being a sign that things are going to be brighter over the years?
Yeah, we're processing things day by day. A lot of changes have taken place. I'm sure a lot of changes will take place going forward. We're all positioning ourselves to be in the most comfortable position when those changes take place. A lot of us have combed through our loan portfolios to understand who is a government worker. How many mortgages do we have out to government employees? How many, consumer loans do we have out to this segment? We are looking at our portfolio of loans to doctors and their practices. And with the different changes in healthcare and how things are paid, how is that going to affect them? And so no one has a crystal ball. However, we are trying to move in a way that is responsible, that is caring, because one, if you have someone that lost a job, we have to show up. We don't, show up knocking on doors, trying to, kick people while they're down. But at the same time, we have businesses. We are for-profit entities, and we have federal regulators. And so it makes it, I'm not going to say difficult, but it makes it a little challenging when on one side, things are moving really fast, but yet on the regulatory side and in other constraints are moving very slow. So it puts us sort of right in the middle. And we try to communicate different concerns, different trends that we see in our markets with government leadership as well as regulatory leadership, just so that everyone understands what levers are being pulled and the effects that they have.
From your perspective, how's the banking industry doing in terms of inclusion and equality?
So our sector, the minority depository institutions, which are designated by the Federal Depository Insurance Company, FDIC, we as a sector make up about 150 banks total. And so those banks typically range in size on a smaller size, around 50 million and go all the way up to about 75 billion. And so our sector is very unique in the sense that we all cater to specific communities, not just those communities, but we have a high penetration in, the African American community, the Asian community, the Hispanic community, Native American communities. And so with our institutions and platforms, we have been using them to deploy capital in segments of those communities that are underserved. And we've been very successful. Many of the banks in our sector have been around for over 100 years. Liberty specifically, just 53. But I know off the top of my head a few that are over 100.
How is Liberty Bank situated in terms of the community itself? Do people see Liberty as a community service institution, or do they see it as just another big bank in town?
Definitely see us as a community institution. We here, especially in New Orleans, people sometimes don't even know about our growth, and so we're not connected to large big bank environment, which is good because a lot of times that can come across a certain kind of way in our community. And the communities that we serve need all of the encouragement to approach financial institutions like us and like others, because money is a very important topic, not just in today's climate, but in the future. And generational wealth has to get better for us, not just the African American community, but the community as a whole. And so we are looked upon as a community partner in many instances.
I know that Liberty Bank also has some association with some of the historically black colleges and universities. Tell us how important you think these institutions are to the community at large, but also to the banking community from your perspective.
Extremely important. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. My wife is a graduate of Dillard University. The founding chair of our board, Dr. Norman C. Francis, used to run Xavier University here in New Orleans. Very important institutions across the country. And my experience at the college molded me and basically exposed me to a lot of different environments from across the country and even around the world. And that exposure allowed me to think bigger than, me coming from a high school in New Orleans and not really having friends or real relationships with people from across the world. And it's a breeding ground for innovation. It's a breeding ground for collaboration. And all of these organizations and schools are very, very, very important. And even the president has acknowledged the importance of HBCUs in teaching segments of our country the importance of education and how to apply that into the job market.
We know one of the keys to the pathway toward wealth is to own property, to own a home. How, from your perspective, are we gaining ground as a whole in home ownership, or are we losing ground?
Specifically in the Black community, we're about even from the 70s and the 80s. really more or less the 80s. And so we've lost a lot. And when I say we've lost a lot, just through families not having documents structured properly so that the transfer of assets can go smoothly to the next generation. I know for a fact a lot of Black farmers, for instance, are starting to lose some of their land due to that, as well as just the economy. And so first-time homebuyer programs are probably more successful than ever holistically. But when we look at it from the lens of the Black community, we still have a lot of work to do.
Do you see the intersection of HBCUs and banking and community organizations that focus on wealth building, rather than everybody staying in their lane? Do you see some of these lanes intersecting to make sure that our communities, the communities that you serve, are not only well represented, but have all the opportunities at hand?
I do see a lot of engagement across those three sectors, and it's very much essential for adoption of financial planning to be pushed down as young as you possibly can. And that's the only way we can equip the younger generation with tools and knowledge on how to navigate the future. And so with HBCUs providing excellent environments for a lot of our youth, especially in the African American community, uh, preparing them, making sure that the faculty and staff of those HBCUs are receiving competitive priced mortgage loans, competitive priced credit card rates, making sure that the school itself has the capital that it needs to expand their dormitories or expand their science labs, and making sure that all of these campuses have first class environments, because that is the breeding ground of a lot of programming for our community.
How do you see uh, minority participation in the American economy expanding to the global economy?
I think it's going to move a lot faster than we've ever seen before in the past. I think opportunities on the continent of Africa are going to be vast and very valuable. The projections for the continent's population is out there and well publicized. I think by 2040 they will make up a fourth of the world's population. And so, with their natural resources, the population, that is going to be a tremendous opportunity for the United States and other countries to open up opportunities to everyone. And while the continent of Africa is really big, 54 different countries, I'm confident we're all going to figure out how to do more business abroad, not just on the continent, but around the world. And it's, back when I was going through college, everyone was talking about a global economy. Now, the global economy is wide open for small business owners. You no longer have to be a large corporation to have international opportunities. And so with technology, I only see that taking place much, much faster.
Given everything that you've experienced and the success of your family business, Liberty Bank, what gives you your greatest hope today?
Well, my father and Dr. Norman Francis started Liberty in 1972, and they went through a lot of tough times, especially the Louisiana oil bust in the late 80s. They went through multiple hurricanes. We went through Hurricane Katrina, where we lost everything in 2005 and had to restart the bank. You saw it in COVID. And so I'm hopeful that, one, we have the knowledge, the toolkits, and the expertise, and with collaborating with other banks such as Liberty and others, even very large corporate banks, we have very strong partnerships with. We can all do a great amount of change, a great amount of impact, and we can be very impactful to the communities that need help.
Thank you so much, Todd McDonald, for joining How to Get Your Money Right.
All right. Thank you for having me.